first of all, we like to start with you telling me how old you are and when and where you were born.
I was born in Jefferson County, Arkansas, July the 10th, 1904.
And that was Jefferson County?
Uh-huh.
Okay. When did you come to Muncie?
January 1936.
Okay. Who came with you when you came to Muncie?
I came alone. My husband was already here. He came up earlier.
Okay. Right. And how did you travel to Muncie?
By bus.
What were some of the items that you brought along with you? Was it just personal items, or did you bring any other big items with you?
No, only personal. Just my clothing. That was all. I had some bed linen. That was it.
Okay. When you came to Muncie, what kind of work did you do?
Domestic.
Domestic work. Okay. So were you working for white families?
That's right.
Were the families good to you?
Yes, it was very nice.
Okay. And how did you feel you were getting paid? Do you think you were getting paid fairly?
No.
You didn't feel you got enough money
For the work we had to do, no.
Okay. Did you ever ask any of the families you worked for more money?
Yes, I did.
And what was their response to that?
Well, I felt that for what I was doing, that was enough.
They felt that way?
Couldn't pay any more.
Okay. Do you feel they could have paid you more?
I know they could have paid me more.
Okay. When you started working for these families, did they give you any kind of on-the-job training, or did you mostly know how to do your work anyway before you started?
I mostly knew how before we started.
All right. When you came to Muncie, how old were you?
31 years old.
Okay. And did you marry? You married before you came to Muncie, right? Okay. Did you have any children?
One son.
Okay. And what school did he attend?
Central.
Central School? Was that a grade school?
Central High School.
Central High School. What grade school did he attend? Did you remember?
Not in Muncie, because I left him in Oklahoma and he came up later.
Oh, you brought him later. Okay. When you came to Muncie, did it seem like education was stressed among the Negroes here? Did a lot of Negroes go to school and want to go to school?
No, I didn't see what they did.
So they had their interests other places?
Yeah.
Can you ever remember reading any books, or your son ever reading any books by black people when he was young?
Well, I remember reading about Paul Dunbar.
Dunbar?
Dunbar. I read something about Booker T. Washington. And also about Carver.
George Washington Carver? Okay. Where did you get these books?
I bought them.
You brought them? Okay. Did you encourage your son to read books by blacks also?
Oh, yes, we did.
Okay. Do you feel that the white people ever discouraged the black people from going to school or trying to get a good education?
Yes.
You think they did?
Yeah, I think they did.
Why do you feel that was so?
When some of the children would tell me, some of the students would tell me about, and even one of my grandsons, some of the things he would say the way they would do would discourage them. And say, if you didn't help them, the parents wouldn't help them, you know. They'd easily be discouraged by the way they were treated and the way they talked to them. It wasn't encouraging at all.
Okay. Can you remember your son ever having black teachers?
Not in Muncie.
Okay.
No.
Can you remember there being any black teachers when you first came in 1936? You know, just did you know of any black teachers?
No.
None?
No.
Okay. Did you know any black people who graduated from high school when you first got here?
No, I can't remember.
Okay, so none around you.
None around me.
Mm-hmm. When you first got here, did you hear of any colleges near here that the black people could go to?
Ball State.
Ball State. What was it called when you first got here?
Ball State Teachers College.
Teachers College. Okay.
Okay.
What college did your son attend? Did he go on to college?
No.
He didn't. Okay, but his children did, right?
His children did.
Okay. Let's see. Can you remember who set up and started the schools for blacks and whites? Can you remember, was it started by the churches or was it started by the town?
I rather think it's by the town.
By the town? Okay. How did your son get to school?
He walked.
He walked. And where was Central located? Central High School located?
Yeah, but at Charles and Mulberry, Charles and High.
Charles and High.
Charles and High Street.
Okay. How far was that from where you and your son were living?
About 10 blocks.
10 blocks?
At least.
Okay. Can you think of any like black families in Muncie who worked for an entire white family? Like everybody in that family worked for, the white family. Like if maybe the wife cleaned house and the father did work around the yard or something like that, and the son worked after school. Can you think of any situations like that where more than one member of the black family worked for the white family?
Yes, the Jacksons. Henry Jackson and his wife worked for him.
Okay. What white family did they work for? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember the names of it.
Mm-hmm.
They even lived on the place. They had them living quarters there on the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you think of reasons why black people would lose their jobs when you first got here?
Well, sometimes because they couldn't be trusted sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the reasons, because they couldn't be trusted. And then didn't take care of the jobs properly.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed that after some of them came here, they felt like they didn't want the white person to, tell them what to do or anything. They was bossed them, especially if they came from the South. They felt like they was being bossed around by it. So they wouldn't have to take care of the job. They couldn't tell them what to do, anything. They want to do it that way, and if they had a special way I wanted it done, they wouldn't do it. So they lost it because they wouldn't take care of the job properly. Couldn't tell them.
Okay. Did you ever hear of any black people working for other black people?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Can you think of any places where black people own their own businesses?
That was the barber shop.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This restaurant. We had our own business for a while. It was a restaurant too.
Okay. What was the name of your restaurant?
Ideal.
Ideal?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good. What did you serve at the restaurant? Complete meals?
We had the menu was there.
Mm-hmm. And what were the hours of the restaurant? Did it open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or did it open for just in the evenings? Or
mostly in the evenings and on Sunday. We had noonday meal and no breakfast, but noon meal and evening meal. And then Sunday we had all day.
All day long. Okay. Did you have other black people working for you?
Yes.
Okay. And so you would pay them for working for you, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Were those people in your family, or just anyone who came in and asked for a job, or did you know those people well before you hired them?
Well, the family part of it was family, and others were just people that we had that I really didn't know too well, but we had them.
Did you trust the people who worked for you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And it was you and your husband running this?
Right.
Okay. How many years did you stay in business?
Oh, about 3 years.
3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was your position in the business? Did you also go down there and cook, or did you just keep records and so forth?
Oh, I was a cook. I cooked.
Okay.
Of course, I had help, to help them, but I was the main cook.
What kind of people came into your business?
Young public, white, the one that wanted to eat. We didn't have too many other people. We didn't have the troublemakers too much. They didn't come in. We never had any trouble.
So you never had any, fights or anything?
No, they would suggest that I not serve the whites because there were so many places in town that they could go and eat. And it was just the 1 or 2 places where the Negroes could eat. And they didn't think it was fair that I would, serve the whites.
Right.
So we did.
Because you didn't make a difference between people.
They were just people.
Okay. Can you think of any black doctors or nurses or midwives during that time in the early 1930s?
That was Dr. Davis.
Mm-hmm.
He was a medical doctor.
Okay, and did he have his own practice?
Yes.
Okay. What about any midwives? Did you ever know any of them?
No, I did.
Okay. Can you remember any kind of epidemic that ever swept through Muncie, like a mass sickness, for instance, smallpox or anything like that?
No, the only thing that I remember causing too much attention was when they were having polio.
Polio?
There was quite a bit of polio here.
Mm-hmm.
One year, I don't remember what year it was. They had quite a bit of polio here in Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
They were vaccinating whatever they were doing, to the children, trying to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had the measles too. That was that they vaccinated all the school kids and things.
Mm-hmm.
They had rubella,
right.
They was vaccinated. Those don't
Okay. Can you think of any people in the neighborhood that people considered healers that could heal people? Who said they would had a special gift from God and they could heal people?
No, I know people that would pray for you,
Mm-hmm.
that God would heal you, but
Mm-hmm.
you take the credit for being the healer.
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay.
That was practiced in my church.
Mm-hmm.
That you pray for them, that God would heal them, but to claim the power to heal,
Mm-hmm.
I never claimed that. Because we knew if they were healed, it was God that healed them.
Yeah. So you never knew of any people in the neighborhood that people would go
With
to?
God.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you remember what was your basic diet back when you first came here? Did you eat mostly meats, or did you eat vegetables, or what happened?
Vegetables. I had been reared up from a child to eat vegetables because we always had the nice gardens and things.
Mm-hmm.
Assortment of vegetables, and I pretty much eat the same today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know we can afford to have more variety of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same as far as my diet is concerned, as far as my doctor will allow me to now.
Okay. Did you eat any meats back there when you first came?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Where did you all get your meats? Did you buy them at the store? Or did people raise them and sell them?
You mean here in Muncie?
Mm-hmm.
We bought it at the store.
Okay. Okay. When you first moved to Muncie, you said you lived with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
How many rooms were in your house?
5.
5 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just you and your husband and your son
Mm-hmm.
when he came.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where did you get your household furnishings, like your sofas and chairs? Did you go out and buy them, or were they given to you, or did you have them made? Or?
No, we bought them. We said piece by piece as we could afford it from the used goods stores. We never had a new stuff at all. We always bought the used, and we paid for it.
Okay. Can you remember where in Muncie were blacks buried?
What?
Buried.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Beach Grove.
Beach Grove?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there blacks and whites buried there?
Yes.
Okay. Can you ever remember hearing, or I know you didn't have anything like this directly, but could you ever hear of anybody drinking or a lot or taking drugs when you first got here?
No.
None at all?
No.
Mm-hmm.
So that was junks you might see on the street or something, but you don't know that. But now, different,
Right. Mm-hmm.
But then, no, it was a different story around here. It was altogether different, nothing like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Just drinking and drugs and things was unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Even at these cigar shops and barber store shops and stuff, they didn't, when you first got here, they didn't drink and stuff like that around them, did they?
Well, if they did, they seemed to drink, inside. It wasn't up and down the street like they are now. So they're all out on the street now in front of these places to drink and carouse. But then they had to stay inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you remember any blacks that were in the political circles, like would call themselves leaders of the black people?
Political, you say?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not then.
Okay. Did you vote back when you first got here?
As soon as I was permitted to vote.
Okay. Okay, and what were the requirements to vote? How old did you have to be?
I don't know, but I was 31 and they didn't object to me voting. I hadn't been here long enough.
So as soon as you had been here long enough, you were allowed to vote.
Right.
Okay. And how long had you been here before you voted? A year or less?
At least a year, I think.
Mhm.
I can't even tell you that. At least a year.
Mhm. Okay. And who did you go to vote? Where did you go to vote?
The fire station down here on Willard Street.
What kind of station?
It was a fire station. They set up the.
Oh, a fire station.
The fire station. They set up a ballot.
Oh, okay. And so when you had been here a year, you just went down to that fire station and voted, right? Okay, so you didn't have to fill out any forms or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Were you always aware of the people who you were voting for? Did you know them? Had you seen them around? Or were they just names to you that you thought would do a good job?
Well, in the early years, I think it was mostly just names.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's different.
Mm-hmm. Right. Did you always vote like for one party or the other party?
Mostly for one party.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Were your grandparents slaves? Do you remember your parents ever telling you anything about that?
No, not my grandparents.
Not your grandparents? Okay. Okay. So you said you had one son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he came here after you and your husband had set up and everything, huh?
Right.
How many years after you got here did your son come out?
Less than a year.
Mm-hmm. It was less than a year. Okay. Who decided the rules in your family back then when it was just you and your husband and your son? Like, for instance, what time your son should go to bed or what time he should be in and so forth. Was it you or your husband?
Mostly it was me.
Mostly you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And who disciplined him when he did something that you didn't feel was right? Like spank him or make him go to bed?
I did that? I did.
Okay. Why do you think the main reason for you disciplining him rather than your husband?
Well, there were times that I felt like it should be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't feel like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Okay. Okay. Can you remember back then, when you first came to Muncie, of seeing or hearing about any blacks and whites living together or being married here in Muncie?
Living together, yes.
Mm-hmm. So that was going on then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How did the people perceive that? How did they accept? Did they accept that or did?
No, not very well.
Mm-hmm.
No, well,
so how did the white people think? What did the white people think about that?
Well, they tried to discourage it as much as they could. They would do things and threaten them. Right. There was cases where they were threatened, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the Negroes was just as bad in a way because they didn't want the whites and the Negroes to be living together. They wanted them to live separate, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you meet your husband?
He and his girlfriend was having a quarrel.
Oh.
She was my best friend.
Uh-huh.
And that's the way I met him.
Uh-huh.
But it was after they had broke up and he left town and came back that we began to date.
Okay. What kind of places did you go when you were, I guess you called it courting back then, right? Or dating or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Did you used to go like to church or to picnics or?
Picnics, church. I made it to the drugstore, store where we could have an ice cream soda or something like that occasionally. But well, that was about it. Picnics and church. Church socials and things of that kind. Maybe go on fish fries. We go out on the lakes and have a fish fry. That was about it. Home. Go for a walk down the country roads and things like that. We live in the country. Go for a walk. Like that. There wasn't much to do.
Okay. How old were you when you and your husband were married? Can you remember?
It was 17, I believe.
17?
I think.
Okay.
17.
When you were growing up, did your family make you have respect for your elders? Did the children always have respect for the elders?
Definitely. Yes.
How different is that from then and now?
More respect then than now, because there seems to be very little respect for the elders now. So we had to respect them, else if need be, you got a spanking by your mother's friends and things that you showed disrespect to. Whoever it was, they felt like you need the spanking for it, you got it. See? But now you just can't hardly tell the people that the children are disrespectful. They won't hear it.
Okay. What holidays did you observe back when you first came to Muncie that that people don't really celebrate now? Can you think of any days, like maybe there were parades on those days that they're not parades now, or whatever?
Decoration Day.
Declaration Day?
And Memorial Day, we used to have go out to the cemetery around to have programs and parades. But anymore, they don't. I don't bother about them. Whatever they're having, I don't even bother about it.
Do you ever have any kind of reunion that you go to every year or every so many years that your friends and your family get together?
Yes.
You do? Where do you go? Is it here or?
Well, the last one we went to was in St. Louis. I remember. We did have one in Denver.
In Denver?
Colorado.
Okay. And what do you usually do at the reunions?
Well, as a rule, we get a old place in the park. We have a barbecue and just have a big feast out, you know, and drinks and things. No liquors, no hard liquors, anything like that, but soda water and things like that. And barbecue chicken, ribs, and potato salads, and baked beans, and all that kind of stuff we have. And get some of them that maybe never met before, the children and that we get to meet them and just kind of visit around and get to know each other.
Do you so you really have like a big outdoor outing?
Right, that's right.
Okay. All right. At what age when you did your do you think children started leaving home back in the early 1930s? You know, right to my interview. At what age do you think children were allowed to leave home or were able to go out on their own and start making a life of their own? Or was there an age? Or did it differ?
Most of the people that I was around, you stayed there until they said you was 21, you was grown, and we just didn't allow them to get up and walk off with it. We'd try to they'd find you and bring you back home until you was grown, and then a lot of them wanted to at least try to get an education before you go out on your own. But mostly, we felt like 21 was about it, I think, back then, in those days.
Can you remember how the names of your children, or your son, or even how your parents chose your family names of the children?
No, I was an only child, and I know how they chose my name. I was named for my grandmother.
And how did you name your son?
My father and my uncle. His name is Arthur Lee. My father was named Arthur. My uncle was named Lee.
Oh, okay. So that kind of passed down.
Right.
Using the names of two people you love,
right.
And put them together for a person, for your child.
That's right.
Okay. This is kind of a ridiculous question. Did you and your family attend church?
Always.
I knew that. Okay.
Had to.
Did your parents also, encourage you to attend church when you were back home with them?
We attended together.
Okay.
Even that until you was grown. Left home. Got on home.
Okay. What denomination were your parents? What church did they go to?
Missionary Baptist.
Missionary Baptist Church. And when you came here, you started going to church temple?
Christ Temple.
Christ Temple.
Apostolic.
Okay. And what kind of church is that?
It's a Holiness.
Holiness Church. Okay. How frequently did you go to church when you first got here?
Practically every night.
Every night. Okay.
Practically every night. Sunday, sometimes twice a day on Sunday.
Okay. Did you and your family, back when you were back home, did they ever have like family devotions within the home?
Yes.
You did?
My mother would just call us down and pray together, read the scriptures, and allow me to. Well, they taught me to read the Bible even when it wasn't devotion time. That was one of the books that they gave me to read of the Bible. We always had kind of devotion.
What time did you all have that at a specific time during the day, or was it just in the evenings usually, or what?
Mostly in the evening. Mostly in the evening.
Okay, after dinner, or?
Yes.
Okay.
See, we were on the farm down in Arkansas when I was a child, and we had to get up and go to work in the mornings that way, but in the evening, then we could have our devotion.
Okay. What about your son? Did you and your son and your husband have devotions when you moved here?
No, not like my parents did.
Okay. But your son did attend church with you?
Right.
Okay. Did your church here, did they try to encourage the young children and young adults to go to school and to further their education?
Yes.
They did. Did they ever sponsor any kind of money or anything, take up money for them to promote them in school?
Right.
They did?
They did.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that? About how they did that, how that was run?
Well, we just gave offerings, They would ask for an offering to help different students if they didn't like, they wouldn't have money to pay their tuition then, and we would take up offerings to help them, and especially if they were out of town students that was here visiting, and didn't have, the parent wouldn't be able to pay their tuition or pay their room rent or something, we would help them that way. So as the rules seemed like they were pointed out to send them over to our church. Someone would tell them, go to Christ Temple, they'll help you there. And they would send them there. And they got to a place where when people wanted help, even they would call my pastor to try to get help because they felt like they would get people that they could trust, to be honest. So it was more like a employment place there for one while.
So your church did a lot to help the community.
That's right.
Okay. Last time I was visiting with you, you said you all had a missionary used to do missionary offerings, and you had a missionary who went to Africa and helped.
She was the one that we helped made the clothing and things on. She was from Africa. She made several trips over here and visited with us, and we got to know her personally. Then when she went back, well, then we would make up these clothes and things and send her like that. But we still take an offering every second Sunday of the month now and send to our missionaries over.
Oh, okay. That's really good. As far as going into different restaurants to eat, or going to the park, or going into a store to shop, were blacks and whites given the same opportunities back then when you first got here? Was there, stores that you couldn't go in and sit down and eat, or go in and shop when you first got here?
I don't recall that you couldn't shop in, but you couldn't eat. You could shop, but you couldn't eat in them.
Can you remember any of the names of any of the stores that you couldn't go in and eat?
Well, that was like the Woolworths and Kresge's. The place had those little stands, little lunch counters and things. Not
Kresge's?
Kresge's. Not any of them. You couldn't go into any of the hotels and eat. If you did, you had to take it out, As I recall one time that my son was working in the bowling alley down at the Delaware Hotel, and he bought a sandwich, and he was going to eat it, and they sent him to the restroom with it.
Oh, really?
And he quit his job. He refused to work there. But you couldn't, unless they had, some place they had a little, I don't recall, but I do remember seeing a little kitchen where it said colored, little cubby hole, a little place to go in there, and it said colored. I don't recall where that was, but I never did go in there. Because we were just taught not to want to go places where you wasn't wanted.
Right.
You just didn't bother about going. But to go like you do now, you can just go any place, but not in the parks. They didn't want them in the park. They didn't want them in the swimming pools. And they had quite a few fights over things like that.
Really?
Parks, going into the parks and swimming pools.
Did the black people try to go anyway?
Yeah, especially the younger ones, they tried to go. Like the teenage boys, they would attempt to go. And they would get in fights with the white boys.
When you came to Muncie, what kind of things did you do besides church for entertainment, enjoyment after you finished working? You came home or on Saturdays and Sundays after church. What did you do just to enjoy yourself, to relax?
Well, after church on Sundays, we usually have dinner. Once in a while, we'd get to go out of town for a ride. Some of the friends, we didn't have a car, but maybe some of our friends would take us for a ride out of town or something like that. And through the week, well, when you come home from work, you had to do your work at home. You didn't have time to go out. And then at night, come up ready to go to church again. So it wasn't too much of preparation in that.
Okay. Can you remember any violence against the black people in your community when you first got to Muncie? where whites were being violent against black people?
No, not in my community.
Mm. Did whites come into your community at all?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, I think that's
Mm. Okay. What would you say was the major fear of black people when you first got here? What were they most afraid of, do you think?
Well, I don't know of anything, but I just said they was really afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
It don't seem like when they got here, if they had fear before they got here, they lost that fear and was looking to fight it out as nothing came up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was too much fear among the majority of them.
Okay. Did you were blacks were able to go to court then? If they got in trouble, did they take them to court?
No.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember any of the people who spoke up for black people in court, like their lawyers or people who just they worked for came down to court and talked for them?
There was a Dr. Klein, who was an optometrist, and he worked with, very closely with the black race. He liked them. He was Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he seemed to favor the blacks. And he was one.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other that was a friend of his, Al Gussie.
Gussie?
G-U-Z-Z-I-E.
Mm-hmm.
Z-U-Z-Z-I.
Okay.
So those were the only two that I remember that would
go down and speak.
Go down and speak at Father.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you remember any black lawyers ever being in Muncie?
No.
None?
None.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I know of one that he studied law, but he never did get to the bar.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
But his son decided to take up law.
Mm-hmm.
And he was practicing in Washington, D.C. today with his father.
Never finished it. No. Did his father live in Muncie?
Yes, yes. And his son was real up here. And then after he finished high school, he went to college and started taking law, and he's now practicing in Washington, D.C.
Okay. Can you remember his name?
You mean the son? Mm-hmm. Gregory Williams.
Gregory Williams.
Mm-hmm.
What was his father's name?
They called him Buster. I never did know his real name, but they called him Buster Williams. That's what he called him, Buster Williams.
Okay. Do you feel that the black people had pride in themselves in the old days?
Yes.
You think so?
I think so.
So they were proud that they were colored.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you feel about being called colored or Negro?
Don't make no difference.
Mm-hmm.
It don't bother me one way or the other.
Okay. How do you feel about being called black today? It doesn't make any difference? Okay. You know, when they switched from colored to black, did you have any reaction to that? Did it matter to you?
No, it didn't matter. Because I wasn't colored anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had no feeling about it one way or the other.
Okay. In the old days, did your parents or did anyone you ever associate with ever talk about Africa and or going back to Africa?
No, my parents, they didn't belong in Africa.
Okay.
They was born here. And there were others that, maybe the friends would talk about that should all go back to Africa. But I remember my parents always said that they belonged here. They were born here. They wasn't African. So,
Okay. Okay, do you think black people have more pride today than they did like back in the early 1920s, 1930s?
It seems to me they had more then than they do now. They are more learned, more educated and everything, but it seems like they have less pride
in themselves. Okay. When you were little, did you have any black toys?
No.
You didn't have any black toys?
No black toys.
Okay. Did you ever hear of any newspapers called, black newspapers such as the Afro-American? You did?
Yes.
How about the Chicago Defender?
Used to buy.
You used to buy that? Okay. How did you used to get those newspapers?
I don't know how they got them much, but someone was selling them, and we would buy them from it. Was some blacks here that was getting them, and we would buy them from them.
So you had read black newspapers?
Right.
Okay, good. Do you think that black children today are proud of being black? Or do you think that they have a negative attitude about being, black?
But today's children, I hardly know what to say. You don't know.
Okay.
I know they'll call each other black and all those things, names they'll call each other, and one's as black as the other, but he's calling his little playmate black. I don't know. And my pride probably going down the drain.
Okay. In the past, did you think that most people, fair-skinned people and darker-skinned people, was there a difference made between them?
Yes.
There was?
Yeah, there was a difference.
When you came to Muncie, did you see any of this going on?
They could get jobs, seemingly, more so than the darker.
Really? Did fair-skinned people work for white people in their homes like, anyone else did?
Yes.
So they got hired for the same jobs, but they got hired faster.
Right, that's right.
Oh, okay. Were there any places that fair-skinned people could go in that darker-skinned people couldn't?
I don't think so. I think the line was drawn there, I think.
Okay. Did you ever hear of a club called the Blue Vein Club?
No, I never did.
Never did? Okay. As far as having money, do you think that the fair-skinned people got more money or had more money than the darker-skinned people?
Yes, I felt like it did.
Did they ever live in different parts of town than the darker people?
Unless they were living on the place where they were, where they were working. It was no different as far as.
So, like light-skinned people could live next to dark-skinned people, as far as they didn't make a difference in themselves like that.
No, they didn't make a difference like that. Because they weren't given any more privileges, permitted to live anymore than, in the
really?
That's right. But when I came to Muncie, there was quite a few whites gathered around among where the blacks were living. They had begun to, move out, and the blacks moved in. And up until just early this year, this was a white neighbor next door to me, but she passed. My husband passed it last year, and she passed this year. And across the street, up until a few years ago, there were whites across the street.
Okay, so this was a mix.
It was mixed. It was mixed. But you stayed in your yard and I stayed in mine, and don't you, you know. But when I first moved here, they didn't want it.
Really? They didn't want any part
Well,
of it?
I was the first Negro that had lived in this house, and it had always been whites in here. And then just when they kept me, but it didn't make any difference.
Because you were going to live here anyway.
And I had to tell her.
So were there a lot of black people living in this neighborhood, or was it mostly white?
Well, in the early years, it was mostly white. Some people had begun to move out and build up these subdivisions, you know, out and do like that. And it was mostly white around. So when the whites would move out, then the other whites wouldn't buy those houses, see, and then they want to sell them. They sell them to the neighborhoods, you know. That's the way they got in.
Oh, I see. In the past, like when you were at home and when you first came to Muncie, how did the black women fix themselves up, or did they fix themselves up?
Some did, and others didn't seem to care.
Did they wear makeup?
Yes,
they did.
No matter how they was dressed, it seemed like they would put on the makeup and shit like that. But they didn't fix themselves up as nice as they do now. Some of them couldn't afford it, and some of them didn't seem to care.
How do you feel about the change in hairstyles, like the new cornrows and the afros and the you know, the plaits that come all the way down with the beads on them? How do you feel about them?
Truthfully, I don't care for them. I don't. You know, I said, I don't know who they're trying to imitate. I wouldn't say it was African. So I just can't get ready for it. I don't like it.
Okay. Do you and your church approve of people wearing makeup and do they, you know, discourage the women from wearing makeup and fixing their hair all up and so forth?
You can fix your hair up, but now the younger children, we do have some teenagers that have their hair fixed with the beads and things and all like that. But the grown-ups and the young ladies things, no. And we don't wear makeup.
Well, how do you feel about women, and how do they feel about women wearing wigs or wearing hair pieces on their hair? Do they?
Well, the only way they permit you to wear wigs is because you don't have hair. You know, your hair is so short you can't manage. That you can wear a wig, but it's discouraged.
It is. Okay.
Now with me, I wear a wig, but my head's almost bald. It's the help with just taking all my hair out, and they allow me to wear a wig, but I just hate them. But can't go there looking like a little man. But it's discouraged, and no makeup, no pants, no flax suits.
Okay. Oh, I know.
It's on now.
When I was here last time, you told me that your son was a carpenter, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He moved away to become a carpenter, right? Or did he learn his trade here?
He moved away.
Where did he go to?
Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma, Washington. Okay. And okay, so he went to Tacoma, Washington. He learned how to be a carpenter. And then later, did he move back here?
But he came back, but not to live. He intended to move back, providing he could have got in the carpenter trade here. But they wouldn't have him in the union.
Okay. And that was because he was
black.
Okay. Black. So they didn't have any blacks in the carpenters union?
No.
And they didn't want any more?
They didn't want any more.
Okay. Did your son try to fight this in any way?
In a small way, yes.
So he checked into it.
But he didn't have anybody to fight with him because he said it wasn't like carpenters here, and his wife come back and make trouble.
Right.
But they was working them on the job. You know, they could get the job, could work on the job, but they didn't get carpenters' wedges or anything, you know, like that. And if they didn't, if they had a grievance, they just had a grievance. There was nobody to speak up for them or anything. And they thought he was trying to make trouble for them by coming back, trying to get them to fight for you to get into the union. So,
what year was this? Can you remember?
Oh, I remember the year he left here. He left here in 1942.
1942.
And he said at least 46 before he came back. Before he went in service.
What did he do before he became a carpenter?
Well, when he was here, well, his first job out of high school was with the wrecking company here, Zinnemann's wrecking company.
Zinnemann's?
And from there, he went to Ball Brothers. Worked there. And then he got married. And he felt it wasn't enough. The salary wasn't enough to support the family, so that's why he taken up and went to Washington State, and he worked in the shipyard there. And then taking his carpenter along.
Okay, last time I was here, you were telling me something about a particular incident when he wanted to work for, was it Mr. Klein, the optometrist, and he wanted to learn how to make eyeglasses?
Yeah, he wanted to grind those. You know, they send the work out after that, and he wanted to
learn how to do that. Okay, and why couldn't he learn? Why didn't they let him, you know, learn how to do it?
Because he was blind. Even with Dr. Klein to finance his training. Dr. Klein was a Jew.
Right.
He was going to finance his training. But they would not accept it.
Okay, so he tried to get into schools that would teach him how to train him how to become an optician.
Right.
And but they wouldn't let him in because he was black.
They wouldn't accept it.
Were they located in Muncie?
There was a place in Muncie, and I don't recall. And after he wouldn't accept him here, then this doctor had a brother that was in Chicago, and he wouldn't accept him either. But this is the same doctor that I told you that would speak up for the Negroes and do here.
Right. Okay. So after your son couldn't do that, that's when he started working for Ball Brothers or working at the wrecking company. No, that was after he came back and was going to do this carpentry work and couldn't get in it. Then Dr. Klein wanted him to do that because he had good practice and everything here. I think he was in the building about 20-some years or 30-some years. And he wanted him to, since he couldn't get the union, to take up this with him. And after that failed, then he went on back to Washington State.